The crowd thought it was part of the show. Michael knew it was not, because that moment was not a technical failure. It was a warning. What happened behind the curtain that night was hidden from the world. Until now. Why did the microphone explode? Who was responsible? And what desperate decision did Michael's security make when everything began to fall apart? Before we begin, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and turn on notifications so you never miss our emotional stories about Michael Jackson. 70,000 people, one heartbeat. The stadium vibrated with light as Michael Jackson stood center stage, dressed in gold and black, the air itself seeming to hold its breath. The opening note soared. The crowd screamed his name. Cameras flashed like stars falling from the sky. Michael lifted the microphone. He sang the first line. Then it happened. A violent crack. A sharp burst of sound, loud, unnatural, followed by a flash near his hand. The microphone went dead instantly. Smoke curled from its metal head. The music collapsed. For a split second, the stadium froze. Then the audience erupted in cheers, believing it was part of the show. Michael did not move. His eyes locked on the microphone in his hand. His pulse thundered. He felt a burning sting in his palm, not enough to injure him, but enough to terrify him. Something was wrong. From the edge of the stage, his head of security, David, was already shouting into his radio, his face drained of color. Two guards rushed toward Michael with trained smiles, as if this were rehearsed. One gently removed the microphone from his hand. Another placed a new one there. Michael leaned close to the nearest dancer and whispered, "Stay with me." The band hesitated. Then the music resumed. The show continued. The crowd roared. But behind the curtain, everything had changed. Michael performed the next song flawlessly, spinning, gliding, commanding the stage like the legend he was, while his mind raced. That wasn't an accident. Someone wanted this to happen. Between songs, the lights dimmed briefly. David slipped beside him, pretending to adjust his jacket. "Mike," he whispered, barely moving his lips, "we're escalating security. Do not leave the stage until we say." "What was it?" Michael asked. "We don't know yet," David replied, "but we're treating it as hostile." The word echoed in Michael's chest. Hostile. He finished the set with a smile the world would remember for decades. But when the final note faded and the curtain dropped, the illusion shattered. Security surrounded him immediately, forming a wall of black suits and tense faces. David grabbed his arm. "We're moving. Now!" They rushed through narrow corridors, away from the noise of the arena, into a private room beneath the stage. The door slammed shut. The roar of the crowd became distant thunder. Michael finally exhaled. His hands were shaking. On the table lay the destroyed microphone. Silent, harmless, ordinary. David's radio crackled. He listened. His jaw tightened. "What is it?" Michael asked. David met his eyes. "Someone tampered with your equipment." Michael closed his eyes slowly. The concert had ended. But the real story was just beginning. The private room beneath the stage was small, windowless, and too quiet. Michael sat on the edge of a folding chair, while the muffled roar of the stadium seeped through concrete walls. Sweat cooled on his skin. His heart still raced. Across the table lay the ruined microphone, sealed in a clear evidence bag as if it were a weapon. David, the head of security, spoken low, clipped tones into his radio. "Lock down the equipment corridor. Freeze all access points. I want every technician accounted for." Michael watched the faces around him, men and women he had trusted for years, now moving with a tension he had never seen before. Their calm smiles on the stage had vanished, replaced by a readiness that made the room feel like the inside of a storm. "Mike," David said, turning to him, "we're creating a bubble around you. No one in or out without my say." Michael nodded. "Is anyone hurt?" "No," David said. "That's the good news." The door opened. A stage manager slipped in, breathless. "The crowd's chanting for you. They think the glitch was part of the show." Michael closed his eyes for a second. "Thank God. Tell them I'll be back for the encore," he said. "We keep this normal." David hesitated. "I don't like it." Michael met his gaze. I won't disappear on them. Not tonight. David studied him, then nodded. We'll escort you on and off. Tighter than ever. While the band reset outside, David's team began the quiet work of elimination. Every cable, every console, every locker was checked. Technicians were questioned, their movements traced. A runner returned with a clipboard of names. One was circled. Who's that? Michael asked. Someone who had unsupervised access to your mic just before showtime. David said. He's been with us a long time. Michael's chest tightened. Bring him here. They did. The technician, mid-40s, kind eyes, hands stained with years of honest work, stood in the doorway, confused, frightened. I didn't do anything, he said quickly. Michael raised a hand. No one's accusing you. I just need the truth. The man swallowed. There was a request, a last-minute change. I was told it came from production. Who told you? David asked. The man shook his head. A woman. Badge looked real. She said it was urgent. Did you recognize her? Michael asked. Not really, the man said. She was calm, polite. I thought. David stopped him. That's enough. The man was escorted out, not as a suspect, but as a witness who had just realized the world was more dangerous than he believed. Michael leaned back, the weight of it pressing on his lungs. Someone walked through our systems. David nodded. That's what scares me. The door cracked open. A voice from the hall. 2 minutes to encore. Michael stood. The room seemed to tilt. Stay with me, he whispered to David. Always. They moved in formation, a wall of black suits around a man the world loved. As Michael stepped back into the light, the crowd exploded. He smiled, waved, raised a new microphone. The sound was perfect. The illusion held. But Michael felt it now, the thin line between the music and the abyss. After the encore, the moment the curtain fell, the wall closed again. They guided him not to his usual dressing room, but through a side corridor to a secure vehicle waiting with the engine running. Where are we going? Michael asked. Alternate route. Alternate location. David said, routine is a luxury tonight. Inside the vehicle, the city light streaked past. Michael's reflection in the glass looked older, quieter. David's phone buzzed. He listened, then exhaled sharply. They pulled a fake credential. We have the badge number. It belongs to someone who doesn't exist. Michael closed his eyes. So they were inside the house. Yes, David said. And that means we change everything. They arrived at a private residence, used only in emergencies. The team swept it, sealed it, then finally allowed Michael to sit. Only then did the adrenaline leave him. His hands began to shake. David noticed. He knelt in front of him. You're safe. Michael nodded, but the word felt fragile. Why would someone do this? Michael whispered. On stage. In front of everyone. Because it's the one place you can't run, David said. And the one place they know you'll return. The truth of it cut deep. Hours later, near dawn, David returned with new information. We traced a fake badge to a print shop across town. Cash job. No cameras. Whoever was planned this. Michael stared at the floor. Then they're not finished. No, David said. They're testing. Michael looked up. And what did you do tonight? David hesitated, then answered honestly. I broke protocol. I ordered a full internal review of your team. Everyone, including people you trust. Michael felt a sting. You didn't tell me. I didn't want you carrying it during the show, David said. But I had to. That's what we do. Michael was silent for a long time. Finally, he said, do it, whatever it takes. The sun rose through the curtains, pale and new. The city woke as if nothing had happened. But inside Michael, something had shifted. The stage would never feel the same again. Morning crept into the secure residence like a cautious visitor. Michael sat at the small kitchen table, untouched toast in front of him, the echo of last night's explosion still ringing in his ears. He had replayed the moment over and over. The crack, the dead silence, the flash in the corner of his eye, the The world had cheered while his life had almost shifted into something unrecognizable. David entered, carrying a thick folder. "We found something," he said. Michael's chest tightened. "Tell me." David opened the folder and slid a photo across the table. It showed a woman wearing a staff badge near the equipment tunnel, head slightly turned from the camera. "This badge number doesn't exist in any of our systems," David said. "But her face, that's a problem." Michael studied the photo. "I've seen her before." David nodded. 3 cities, 3 venues, always near your route, always just outside protocol. Michael closed his eyes. So this wasn't a one-time thing. "No," David said. "This was preparation." The realization settled like cold stone in Michael's chest. They moved into a deeper briefing. The team reconstructed the night. Who touched what, when, and why. Every minute of the last 6 months was laid bare. And then they found it. A transfer of information from someone inside Michael's extended team. Not a core member, not a stranger. Someone trusted with schedules and technical updates. A name appeared on the screen. Michael felt the air leave his lungs. "That's impossible," he whispered. It was a man who had toured with him for years. Someone who had laughed with him backstage, who had helped with his jacket before shows, who had once told Michael, "I'd take a bullet for you." David's voice was steady. "We're not saying he planted the device. We're saying information moved through him." Michael stood and walked to the window. "Bring him," he said quietly. They met in a private room. The man looked exhausted, confused, and terrified. "Mike, I swear." Michael raised his hand. "Just tell me the truth." The man swallowed. "She approached me weeks ago. Said she was from an independent audit team. Wanted technical access. She knew things she shouldn't have known. About the route, the backup mics, the switch timing." "Why didn't you tell us?" David asked. "I thought she was legit," the man whispered. "She had credentials. She had names. I never imagined." Michael felt his chest burn. "You never imagined I could get hurt," he said softly. Tears filled the man's eyes. "I would never." "I know," Michael said, "but that doesn't change what happened." The man was removed from duty, not in handcuffs, not in shame, but in the quiet understanding that his world had just collapsed. When the door closed, Michael sank into a chair. "How many people does it take to end a life?" he whispered. David sat beside him. "Fewer than you think. That's why we don't let it be one person's job." The afternoon unfolded in heavy silence. Michael wandered the halls of the residence, touching the piano, the couch, the walls, grounding himself in what was still real. His mother arrived just before sunset. She took his hands and said, "You don't have to be strong with me." He leaned into her shoulder and finally let the tears fall. "I just wanted to sing," he said. "I just wanted the music." She kissed his temple. "And you still will." But Michael knew something deeper had changed. That night, David returned with the final piece of the puzzle. "We identified the woman," he said, "or at least one of her identities. She's been using multiple names. She's connected to a private firm that specializes in influence operations." Michael looked up. Influence over what? People, narratives, movements. Michael's mind raced. His message, his reach, his voice. "Why me?" he whispered. David's answer was quiet and devastating. "Because your silence would change the world." The words echoed in the room. Michael stood, feeling something ignite beneath the fear. Then they picked the wrong night. He walked to the piano and played, not for the charts, not for the crowd, but for himself, for the boy inside him who still believed in light. As the final note faded, he turned to David. "We don't hide," Michael said. "We protect. We endure." Outside, somewhere in the city, a woman watched the news replay of the show, her eyes cold and calculating. The game was not over. The morning after the briefing, the world outside the secure residence felt too quiet. Michael stood on the balcony, wrapped in a soft robe, watching the city wake up. The sky was pale, almost innocent, as if nothing dangerous had happened beneath it. He inhaled deeply, trying to convince his body that the night was over. But it wasn't. David's voice came from inside. "Mike, you need to see this." Michael returned to the living room where a television flickered silently. On the screen, a still image from the concert, the exact moment the microphone failed. The headline beneath it read, "Technical malfunction stuns audience during Michael Jackson show." Michael stared. "That's not what it was," he whispered. David muted the TV. "They're already controlling the narrative." Before Michael could respond, Karen's phone buzzed. Her face went pale as she read the message. "What is it?" Michael asked. She looked at him. "They left something at your house." Michael's chest tightened. "Neverland?" Karen nodded. Within the hour, a secure convoy was moving through the hills of Santa Barbara. Michael watched the road wind toward the place that had always been his refuge, now shadowed by the memory of what had nearly happened. They arrived to find the front gates open. Not broken, not forced, just open. David's jaw tightened. Security swept the grounds while Michael waited inside the car. 10 minutes later, David returned, holding a small black case. "It was placed on your piano," he said. Michael felt his pulse in his throat. They entered the house together. Neverland was silent. The smell of old wood and dust mixed with a faint echo of music that once lived in every corner. David placed the case on the piano bench. "Open it," Michael said. Inside was a memory card and a note. "We're closer than you think." Michael closed his eyes. They inserted the card into a laptop. The video file opened. It showed Michael's dressing room from the night of the concert. The angle was high, hidden, perfect. The footage played, Michael laughing with dancers, adjusting his jacket, stepping toward the stage. Then the video cut. Another clip, Michael alone in his hotel room, humming softly. Then another, Michael at Neverland weeks earlier, sitting at the piano. They had been watching him everywhere. His breath became shallow. "How did they get this?" he whispered. David's voice was tight. "Someone inside your circle." Michael's mind returned to the name from the briefing. The man who had moved information. The woman who wore a badge that shouldn't exist. They were not gone. They were closer than ever. That afternoon, Michael canceled all public appearances. He sat in the small theater room at Neverland, alone, lights off, screen dark. The seat beside him was empty, and for the first time since childhood, he felt truly vulnerable. His mother entered quietly and sat with him. "They won't take your light," she said. Michael shook his head. "They already tried." She took his hand. "Then you make it brighter." That night, Michael gathered his core team. "This isn't about a concert anymore," he said. "This is about my life." David nodded. "And we will protect it." Michael looked around the room. "Everyone who stays in my world from this moment forward must choose me over convenience, over money, over fear." They all agreed. Later, Michael stood alone in the doorway of the music room, the piano illuminated by a single lamp. He sat and began to play, slowly, deliberately, as if reclaiming each note from the shadow that had touched him. Outside, a car idled briefly near the gates, then vanished. And in a quiet office across the city, someone rewound the concert footage again and again, watching the moment the microphone failed, calculating the next move. The confrontation was scheduled for late afternoon. Michael insisted on being present. David disagreed. Karen hesitated. His mother stayed silent. But Michael's eyes were steady. "This is my life," he said. "I won't hide from it." They chose a small conference room at Neverland. Neutral, quiet, away from the music rooms and the places where joy still lived. The sunlight fell through tall windows, cutting the table into gold and shadow. The man arrived alone. He looked older than Michael remembered. His shoulders slumped, his eyes rimmed with red. He carried no bag, no coat, only the weight of everything that had happened since the night of the concert. Michael stood when he entered. "Thank you for coming," Michael said softly. The man swallowed. "I didn't think you'd want to see me." Michael gestured to the chair. "Sit." For a moment, no one spoke. Outside, birds moved through the trees. Inside, the air felt thin. David placed a folder on the table and slid it toward the man. "We know information moved through you. We know about the woman with the badge. We know when and where." The man stared at the folder, then closed his eyes. "I never meant for any of this," he whispered. Michael's voice was gentle. "Then tell me how it started." The man inhaled, shaky. "She found me after a show. Said she worked with an independent firm that evaluated security weaknesses for high-profile clients. She said your life was at risk and that the only way to protect you was to cooperate." "Cooperate how?" Michael asked. "Schedules, equipment routines, which backups were in place, who supervised what." Michael's chest tightened. "You gave her the map to my world." Tears slipped down the man's cheeks. "She promised it was only for assessment. She showed me documents, names I recognized. She said you'd never know, and you'd be safer because of it." David leaned forward. "When did you realize it wasn't true?" The man looked at Michael. "The night of the concert." Michael held his gaze. "I saw the fear on your face when the mic failed," the man whispered. "I knew then I had opened the wrong door." Michael closed his eyes. A long silence filled the room. When he opened them again, his voice was steady but wounded. "Why didn't you come to me?" The man's shoulders shook. "Because I was afraid. Afraid of what they'd do to my family. Afraid of losing everything. Afraid I'd already lost you." Michael stood and walked to the window, staring at the hills. "I built this place so people could feel safe," he said quietly. "Not so fear could live inside it." He turned back. "Who are they?" The man shook his head. "I don't know their real names. Only the firm's cover. They deal in influence. They don't want you silenced. They want you guided." Michael's jaw tightened. "Guided where?" "Where your voice doesn't threaten their world." The words hung between them like smoke. David closed the folder. "You're removed from all access, effective immediately." The man nodded. "I understand." Michael studied him for a long moment, then said, "I forgive you." The man's head snapped up. "I forgive you," Michael repeated. "But I won't protect the lie." They escorted him out, not in handcuffs, not in shame, but with the knowledge that a chapter of their lives had ended. When the door closed, Michael leaned against the table. Karen stepped forward. "Are you okay?" Michael nodded once. "I am now." But the victory was fragile. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, David returned with new intelligence. "The woman with the fake badge," he said, "is connected to a network that specializes in psychological pressure on public figures. They escalate when they lose access." Michael's heart sank. "So they're not done?" "No," David said. "They're angry." As if summoned by the thought, the phone rang. A distorted voice came through the line. "You closed one door," it said. "We'll open another." The call ended. Michael stood in the quiet that followed, the words echoing inside him. He walked to the music room and sat at the piano, pressing one key. The note hung in the air, trembling, then faded. "I won't be owned," he whispered. Later that night, Michael gathered his team. "We continue the tour," he said, "but on our terms." David nodded. "We'll rebuild every layer." Karen asked softly, "And you?" Michael looked around the room, at the people who had chosen him. "I'll keep singing," he said. "That's my answer." Outside, the wind rose. Somewhere in the city, a woman watched the replay of the concert again, pausing at the moment the microphone failed, calculating what fear would not accomplish, and what persistence might. The next show was in Chicago. Cold air, heavy sky, a city that had waited months to see him. Backstage, the atmosphere was tighter than it had ever been. New security layers, new protocols. Every cable traced, every light tested, every microphone sealed, and verified by 3 separate teams. Michael stood in front of the mirror, adjusting his glove, watching his own eyes. "You ready?" Karen asked softly. Michael nodded. "Let's make this beautiful." As the crowd's roar rose, he took his place behind the curtain. Then something happened that no one expected. The arena lights flickered. Just once. Then again. David's voice crackled in Michael's earpiece. "Hold." The music paused. The crowd murmured. Michael remained still, heart pounding, the weight of thousands of eyes pressing through the darkness. The lights returned. David's voice again. We're good. Proceed. Michael stepped into the spotlight. The cheers exploded. He sang. He danced. He commanded the stage like nothing had ever happened. But he could feel it, the tension vibrating beneath the music. Halfway through the second song, one of the dancers stumbled, catching Michael's arm for balance. "Cable," she whispered. Michael glanced down. A black line lay across the floor where it shouldn't have been. Security moved instantly, clearing the area under the cover of choreography. The show flowed on. Between songs, Michael leaned toward David at the edge of the stage. "This is them," he whispered. David nodded. "They're testing the perimeter." The third song began. As Michael hit the first note, he saw movement near the sound booth. The same woman from the photograph, the one with the badge that didn't exist. Their eyes met. Her expression didn't change, but her presence said everything. Michael's heart slammed. David was already moving. Security shifted. A new ring formed. The woman vanished into the crowd. Michael finished the song with fire in his voice, but inside, he was counting the seconds. Backstage, the moment the set ended, David grabbed him. "They were inside the floor system," he said. "We caught it in time." Michael exhaled shakily. "Someone wants me to fall in front of everyone." David nodded. "Not tonight." In the quiet of the dressing room, Michael sat down, hands trembling. "I won't stop," he said. "They won't make me." David placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then we adapt." They changed the running order. They rerouted movement. They shifted entrances and exits. The final set began. Michael returned to the stage stronger than ever. When the show ended, the arena thundered with applause. Michael bowed, glowing under the lights, unaware that the night had only just begun. Outside, as they moved him toward the convoy, a figure stepped from the shadows. "Michael." He stopped. It was the woman. David and security surged forward, but Michael raised a hand. "Wait." She stood only a few feet away, her voice calm. "You don't belong to them," she said. Michael studied her. "Who do I belong to?" She smiled slightly. "The world. And that's the problem." Before anyone could react, she dropped something at Michael's feet, a folded piece of paper, and disappeared into the dark. They rushed Michael into the vehicle. Inside, his hands shook as he unfolded the paper. It contained only one sentence. "Your light is dangerous." Michael closed his eyes. He whispered, then let it burn. As the convoy pulled away, he leaned back, exhausted, but alive, knowing the next chapter of this battle would demand more courage than anything he had faced before.